Sonal Mehrotra Kapoor and you're watching Coffee and Crypto, a show in which we drink lots of coffee, talk lots of crypto, and essentially we decrypt the world of cryptocurrency for you. So, we've had quite a journey on the program, don't you think so far? We started from the basics of crypto, went on to discuss blockchain. We told you how to watch out for the markets, how to watch out for coins. But I feel one fundamental thing that we haven't discussed so far is wallets. Crypto wallets. Basically a place where you store your crypto. And before getting into details, if there's one thing you need to know about wallets, it's this. You could have exceeded crypto trends, minted lots of money, but it will be no good. You will have no access to your crypto, to your money, if you don't have the right wallet. More on this once I get to the coffee table. So when I say wallets, a lot of you might be imagining something like this, right? But we'll talk about crypto wallets. I'll tell you what is the difference between the two. Your wallet, like my wallet, would have some cash, would have some cards, your Aadhaar card, driving license, your debit card, credit card, and a lot of it. In the crypto wallet, there is only one thing that you need to really worry about and you need to be caring, and that is the all-important key that gives you access to your crypto. Consider this. Now, your actual tijori ki chabi, that is your crypto key that you really need to, be bothered about, remember. And also note very carefully here that I'm saying it is the key to the tijori, not the tijori itself, because the tijori here is the blockchain. Now don't get confused, I will tell you how it works. Suppose I want to send crypto to my friend Sana, okay? Now Sana will share her public key with me, which is something like a bank account number, which I need in order to actually send the crypto. Then I transfer the crypto to Sana. Say I transfer 1 Bitcoin, lot of money. Now this transaction creates a block on the blockchain, and your blockchain meaning your crypto tijori, remember, okay? So effectively, though I've transferred 1 Bitcoin to Sana and she technically owns it, it's not her wallet that stores this Bitcoin. The Bitcoin is part of the blockchain itself. So the question is, how will Sana then access it, right? The answer to this is another key, this time a private key. So you know by now there are two kinds of keys over here. A public key, which I used to send her the crypto, it's like your bank account number, and the private key, which is used to access that crypto, like your password. And we all know that the key to having a password is keep it safe. If you lose your private key, just like the normal world, even in the crypto world, you essentially have no access to your crypto. You lose all of it. And this is where wallets actually come into play. Now, there are fundamentally two kinds of wallets that you need to know. One is a hot wallet, the other one is a cold wallet. A hot wallet, well, these are the ones which are always connected to the internet and they can be used at any point in time. It can be a web browser extension or a mobile or desktop app, and they may be sending and receiving crypto as easy as using online payment systems, okay? So, but of course, since they are online, you are dependent on just how secure this wallet is that you're using. This also includes, by the way, wallets on your exchanges. And several people keep their crypto on exchanges, but these exchanges then control the private key on your behalf. This, of course, is perfectly fine, especially if you're an active trader. But if you want full control of your money, your private key needs to be only in your wallet. Okay? Having understood that, let's move to what are cold wallets. Now, cold wallets are basically physical devices that store your private key. And this is basically in order to undergo a transaction, this cold wallet needs to be connected to the internet device like a computer or a smartphone, if you need to store huge amount of crypto, these could be a safer option, as they say. So you only connect them once you're undergoing a transaction. They're not linked on to the system and hooked on to the system throughout the time. Easy? Clear? Okay, so by the way, we've spoken so much about keys and private keys, but do you know what actually a key looks like? I thought it'd be fascinating to bring that out to you as well. So this is what it looks like. Compare that to your online passwords, which probably have around 8 numbers and letters, and that's it, right? Well, this private crypto key has 256-bit numbers, which means 64 characters in the range of 0 to 9, A to F, like the one just on your screen right now. FYI, both Bitcoin and Ethereum addresses are also based on this format. Just some trivia for you to know over there. So having understood all this, the most important thing to remember is to ensure that your private key is safe. Let me throw a stat in there for you to understand this better. According to a study, 20% of all existing Bitcoins are lost or stranded in digital wallets due to lost passwords, due to lost keys. Imagine this. You could be a millionaire, a billionaire, you smartly earned all this money, but you can't access it. That's how important your key is, and that's why wallets actually come into picture. Now, I'm sure you don't want to be this person who forgets the key. So, of course, CC's got you covered, and we'll tell you how not to be that person. All right? Let's go to point number 1 that you must remember if you want the safety of your key and you always want a recall to it as well. Now, while setting up your wallet, a seed phrase will emerge that will be generated, which will be a string to a few words. This phrase basically generates your private key. So keep this seed phrase very safe, right? Write it down on a piece of paper and back it up, because once you lose it, trust me, even Satoshi Nakamoto can't recover it for you, okay? Nobody can get it back, so it's your responsibility, you keep it well. Another thing to remember is lock your wallet with a strong password. Well, that's a no-brainer really. And third point then is, if your crypto is on an exchange, use an app-based two-factor authentication to protect your account completely. Also, try to store large amounts of crypto in cold wallets. As we discussed earlier, they could be safer. And it may be a smart move to spread your crypto wealth across multiple wallets in case, hacking incidents happen. We do that for bank accounts as well, right? You don't put all your eggs in the same basket, just for safety sake. Another thing to remember is update the software of the mobile wallet regularly to prevent any glitches as well. Very important to do that across the board actually. And finally, point number 7 for you to remember is frequently back up and run virus scans on your device, which has all your wallets. So that is everything you need to know about crypto wallets. I hope that was clear. And if not, then I'm sure our guests are going to make it even more easy for you to understand. Let's welcome, on that note, to CC. Joining us is Rohan Agarwal. Now, Rohan is somebody who builds wallets. He's a co-founder for CyberRock, and he's been doing lots of stuff on how to keep them safe, different ways in which you can actually get enrolled into the system, etc. So lots of stuff to discuss with Rohan. Also joining us is Sheenam Arora. She is the COO of Wrapped Asset Project. Hi, welcome to CC as well. Let me begin with Rohan first. Rohan, first tell us, for people who are beginners, right, into the crypto space and are still depending on exchanges, etc., to do their trade, what would be a right time for somebody to take a call on when to make a move to their own wallet?
Thanks, Sonal, for having me. It's been a pleasure here. So, I mean, it depends person to person. What we have generally observed is if you have at least, $2,000 worth of crypto and above, which is about at least 1.5 lakh rupees, then it's a good time to switch over to a cold wallet. I mean, it all depends upon your risk profile. So if you have a few hundred rupees, a few thousand rupees, which, you're okay to lose if something worse happens, then, for liquidity purpose, it's okay to keep it on an exchange. I'm sure, exchanges like CoinSwitch have the best sort of security to keep those assets safe. But just to protect against the risks which are there with a specific exchange, or maybe for a hot wallet. The right time to switch over to a cold wallet like ours is maybe if you have, at least $2,000 or about 1.5 lakh rupees.
So money at stake should really be telling you how and where you put your money and whether or not you put it in wallets or not.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, it's more like, if it exceeds your risk profile, it's always, important to buy a hardware wallet, which is simply like the simplest form of a cold wallet for a retail investor. You can buy it anywhere between from $100 to about $300. And it is wise enough to invest 10% of your total crypto holdings, because your crypto is going to 2x, 3x, 5x, 10x in the next few months, in the next few years. So you obviously don't want to lose out on your gains in case something happens to those assets tomorrow.
So $100 to $300 is what it costs there as well. Shinam, let me come to you. Your thoughts on when should one make a move towards wallets? What kind of wallets should one look at? There's a huge market out there, some software ones, some hardware ones.
Hi, Sonal. Firstly, I would say if you want to give a demonstration of how a wallet works, you can transfer 1 BTC to me instead of Sana.
Let me think about that one. Let me see. Sana is, by the way, the producer of the show, and she's not going to be very pleased with this.
I'm so sorry. So I would actually say, Sonal, I think it depends on the kind of investor I am in. So if I am the kind of person who probably does it like day-to-day basis on exchange, there are a lot of people probably, who don't understand the crypto market. Their intention of using crypto is to make everyday gains. So for short-term investments, I believe that using it on an exchange, I think it's suggestible, because every time you withdraw from a hot wallet to a cold wallet, there is a transaction charge on that as well.
Right.
So if you're going to do it often, you wouldn't want to spend money on that. And for cold wallet, I think you need to be a long-term investment when you look at the big picture. And also another thing is you need to be a little tech savvy, because, you have to put it in a pen drive, try to connect. And for looking at people who are not really tech savvy, I wouldn't really recommend a cold wallet.
I see. No, both fair points over there, except the bit about transferring you Bitcoin. We'll talk offline about that one. Let me go back to Rohan then. Rohan, tell me, how exactly are these wallets built? Because ultimately, even the exchanges bank on wallets, right? So would you say, in the scheme of things, in the scheme of understanding the entire blockchain network, crypto, etc., wallets are so key? I mean, all of us have seen some horror, heard some horror stories about the amount of money one somebody had. I don't want to go back and name that person again. They put in there. So famous story, just for our viewers to know, is there was a gentleman who bought Bitcoin when it had just been launched, and till date is sitting on that with no key. That is like the worst horror in the world.
Absolutely, Sonal. I mean, and that's the reason why, what we are building is very key to solving those sorts of issues which are there in sort of the current wallets. I mean, an exchange, also use a crypto wallet behind the scene, but that's just so much more sophisticated because of the amount of funds they sort of hold on behalf of sort of their users. Wherein if you compare it to, a hot wallet or cold wallet that a retail investor uses, is much simpler for them. And the thing is, there's a different financial motivation. So for a hacker to hack an exchange, it is much financially motivation for them to hack an exchange compared to you, hacking you as a user, because that's not enough, financial motivation for them to hack your funds. And that's where a sort of a cold wallet comes into a picture.
Sure. Shinam, last question really, and quickly just want to understand, you have some tips. How do you remember your key perhaps? And you want to tell people what is this thing to remember?
Okay. So what I do is for trading, I anyways use exchange hot wallet because I'm okay with the loss. But for cold wallet, I download the crypto in my cold wallet, write the seed phrase, and I've actually given it to my mother to keep it in a locker in a bank so that in case if I forget or anything happens, she can use it. Second
Okay.
option with cold wallets nowadays comes is multi-sig wallets. So I have a one hardware device and my family can have the other hardware device. So in anything goes wrong, I need two signatures to log in. So I would need two passwords. So even if somebody hacks or takes my physical hard drive physically with my hardware wallet, but they would need another address, and that is at safe at my hometown.
Right.
And another thing I would say is whenever I do it with wallets also, like hot wallets or internet, I do the transaction and I delete the extension from my web browser, delete all the history,
good
delete
point.
everything.
Yeah. Right. Well, moms to the
nothing is
rescue.
safe.
That's all I can say when it comes to crypto as well. So, good way to engage them in the crypto conversation. Thank you both for joining us. This has been a fascinating conversation. We'll connect again. There's so much really to discuss in this space. We're going to slip into a break now, but don't go anywhere, because if you thought this was all technical, wallets, this and that, we'll talk about something fun on the other side. Gaming in the crypto space. How does that happen? Well, this is Ritham and he will be joining us. He's from DeFi 11. We'll be talking loads about what exactly is DeFi with him. So come right back for that. Welcome back to CC, and we promised you something fun in the gaming ecosystem, so we thought we'll have DeFi 11 with us. Joining us is the CEO. Well, firstly, do you want to define this for our viewers? I do a lot of talking and I do a lot of explainers. If you were to talk about DeFi to a 5-year-old, say, how would you explain to them what this is?
Pretty interesting question, Sonal. So what I would say to a 5-year-old would be, to define DeFi, I would say, for every time a 5-year-old needs to get money to get something from the market, he does not really need to move straight into his dad's room and ask for money. What he can do is he can just enter into any of the rooms in the house, get that amount of money, and everyone knows about it, that 5-year-old and his parents. So that's how DeFi works in the most simplistic way, bringing all transparency and ease of access.
Wow, you've got everybody's attention now, not just kids, even adults want to know ye hota kaise hai. So we'll talk about that in a bit of detail. But your gaming ecosystem, this is said to be absolutely transformational there. Tell us what all you're doing in this space.
Yeah, so basically we run this application called DeFi 11, that's fantasy sports over blockchain. There have been various fantasy sports apps available in the market currently, and even few of them from India becoming unicorns recently. Yep, I mean, I would not take any of the names, but then our viewers should be knowing them. So it's real craze. Gaming has been one of the biggest markets ever available, I would say. And that too, fantasy sports that links predictions with gaming. So what we are doing is we are just like doing everything the right way, coupling DeFi or coupling blockchain to the gaming industry and bringing fantasy sports over blockchain. So,
Okay.
I mean, what the only problem that we see with the system is, I mean, there are various limitations to all these fantasy sports apps currently. They are trying to do things, but then with the limitations of the system, they are kind of leaving behind few loopholes that no one actually gets to get a hold of. That's what we are trying to fill in.
Yeah. Well, Ritham, DeFi perhaps deserves a longer segment on the show, and we'll perhaps do that again. But as a closing remark really on the program, how do you think DeFi, the entire ecosystem, is different from, say, blockchain? How do you think the two weigh? What is this problem that DeFi is trying to solve?
To answer that, I would say blockchain really has a lot of use cases. I mean, crypto being one of the use cases of blockchain. Similarly, finance has always been one of the biggest use case of blockchain. So the entire term DeFi, I mean, just to elaborate it, it's like decentralized finance. It's nothing fancy. It's just like pretty basic thing wherein the entire finance industry that is being controlled centrally, or the economy that's being run centrally by, let's say, banks, that's get totally decentralized. Rather than a bank controlling your wealth or the entire economy, the economy is being run all distributedly, all decentrally, and I would say, I mean, everyone has to get the same information at the same time without even being afraid
Sure.
of like losing any
Sure.
details.
Sure. Okay, Neetam, we'll leave it there for the moment, but we'll come back to you and we'll talk about DeFi at length in the next episode as well. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks.
Well, that's all we could pack in today's edition of CC. Coming up next week, we've got a special Diwali edition for you where we'll tell you a comparison of how things have panned out in the financial world from stock market versus gold versus crypto. Doesn't that sound exciting? So catch you next Friday, same time. Bye.